Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the midday news on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agumofwegbe, reminding our viewers that we are on DSTV, channel 365 and Star Times, channel 276. President Bola Tinubu has held a closed-door meeting with the service chiefs at the presidential villa, Abuja. This marks Tinubu's first engagement with the military high command since swearing in retired General Christopher Musa as the new Minister of Defense on December 4, 2025. While the official agenda remains undisclosed, the meeting comes amid mounting security concerns, including the ongoing captivity of 115 students kidnapped from a Catholic boarding school in November and the recent approval by Nigeria's Senate for troop deployment to Benin Republic following an attempted coup in that country. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has charged relevant agencies to work hard to generate revenue capable of funding critical sectors of the economy. Senator Akpabio gave the charge while declaring open the interactive meeting on 2026 to 2028 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper organized by the Senate Committee on Finance in Abuja.
The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who was represented by the Deputy Chief Whip, Senator Peter Nwaboyin, said budgetary assumption was often estimated based with the revenue generation to enable the government to fund its capital projects and pay workers' salaries. He tasked the stakeholders to live up to their responsibilities for the robust economic development in the country.
It is my expectation, therefore, that the deliberation arising from this exercise will further deepen collaboration between the executive and the legislative arm of government, all geared towards promoting the national interests of our country, Nigeria.
Earlier, the chairman, Senate Committee on Finance, Senator Sani Musa, APC, Niger East, said the interactive meeting on the 2026 to 2028 MTEF and FSP was to propose revenue assumptions for the purpose of funding people's base budget.
Part of that solution that we saw last week was at the Federal Executive Council, where His Excellency the President himself approved and gave directive that all outstanding debts in terms of 2024-2025, the 30% should be cleared.
Those who attended the interactive meeting on the MTEF and FSP were the Minister of Finance, Acting Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Odun, Minister of Budget and National Planning, Abubakar Atiku, the Minister of State Petroleum, Senator Lukogbodo Henikin, Chairman, Nigeria Inland Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, and others looked into the 2024 and 2025 budgets and why the two budgets are still running concurrently. The Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Odun, explained some economic policies of the government and the implementation based on how much is generated and the expenses.
His Excellency, Mr. President, having removed the major distortions in the economy, having stabilized it, the whole point is that there should be investment. And we are having investment across all sectors.
On the non-payment of local contractors, Mr. Wale Odun said the presidential directive has already been issued for the immediate payment of 30% to all local contractors.
The Koreas of this world, the Singapores of this world, they did it, the Chinas, by mobilizing their own savings so that when they produce, they don't consume everything.
The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku, further explained how the budget is planned and its implementation and reason behind the rollover of 2024, 2025 to 2026.
That relationship is what is required to generate more investment in infrastructure, renewed hope infrastructure, which is affecting all parts of Nigeria and creating jobs. Equally, the increased spending on security by all the tiers of government is supposed to support domestic production, domestic job creation.
The chairman, Nigeria Inland Revenue Service, Zak Adedeji, proposed how much the agency will generate for the funding of 2026 budget, while responding on why the agency has signed a memorandum of understanding MOU with France. The meeting ended with the resolution by the chairman of the committee to set up a three-man committee to work with the Accountant General of the Federation for the quick payment of local contractors. Topsy Gimba, reporting for Global Television News.
Well, thank you so very much, Senate Correspondent Topsy Gimba. The federal government has inaugurated Nigeria's third National Action Plan on the implementation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to inclusion, gender equality and sustainable peace. The National Action Plan 3 of the United Nations Security Council Resolution, inaugurated by the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu in Abuja, was spearheaded by the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The First Lady, represented by the wife of Deputy President of the Senate, Leila Brau, explained that 25 years ago, through the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, the global community recognized that women should not remain on the sidelines but be active participants in shaping peace and security. Let's turn to matters of health now. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Pate, has issued a stern warning to senior officials signaling impending sweeping leadership changes in terms of failing to deliver on key performance indicators related to polio eradication and routine immunization. Professor Pate gave the warning after being debriefed by the Expert Review Committee on Polio Eradication and Routine Immunization at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Health correspondent Zarau Nasio now reports.
Professor Fati emphasized a results-oriented approach, stating that the goal is to achieve results and not just effort. The minister also stated that Nigeria has made significant strides in the fight against polio, having been certified free of wild polio virus since 2020. However, the country continues to grapple with circulating vaccine-derived polio virus type 2 with ongoing transmission, posing a risk to full eradication.
The fact that we have made progress is good, but it's not enough if we're to deal with this by end of 2026. Or it has global implications, it has regional implications, and it has implication for us. So what does it mean? It means we have to go all out.
The Coordinating Minister of Health said government's ambitious target is to interrupt all forms of polio virus transmission by the end of 2025, aligning with broader efforts under President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda to strengthen primary health care, expand infrastructure, and boost routine immunization coverage.
If you put folks together and the result is not effort that we're rewarding results. And if there are no results, then we change people and bring those who can be able to deliver. And I told him, even if it means every month changing people, the ED has my support.
Stakeholders, including partners from World Health Organization, UNICEF, and Global Polio Eradication Initiative, have reaffirmed support for Nigeria's efforts, stressing the need for sustained political will and operational excellence to secure a polio-free future. Zahra Unasir, reporting for Global TV News.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, SAN, have exchanged sharp accusations and counter-accusations over allegations of political bias in the agency's ongoing investigation of the ex-minister. Malami demanded the immediate recusal of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, from his ongoing investigation, alleging bias, personal vendetta, as well as political persecution linked to his recent defection to the African Democratic Congress. In a strongly worded press release issued by his media aide, Muhammad Doka, Malami accused the commission of conducting what he described as an illegal detention, media harassment, and procedural abuse, insisting that the probe against him was not driven by law enforcement considerations, but by what he termed deep-seated historical animosity on the part of the EFCC leadership. President Bola Tinubu has mourned the death of Bayelsa State Deputy Governor Lawrence Eworujakbo, who died on Thursday after collapsing in his office. The president also sympathized with the government and people of the state. His condolence message was contained in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga. Tinubu extended heartfelt condolences to the governor of the state, Duoyo Diri, and the wife of the deputy governor, Barrister Beatrice Ewurujakbo, his children, and the friends and associates who worked closely with the diligent public servant. The National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, has announced that its registration portal for the 2025 Batch C mobilization exercise will open from December 16 to December 23, 2025. The scheme made this known in a notice issued by the Corps management across its social media handles, stating that the exercise is specifically for Corps members who absconded during their service year. The scheme urged eligible applicants to take notes of the timeline and comply strictly with the guidelines. Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa has called on Nigeria's security leadership to move from discussions to concrete action in tackling the country's evolving security challenges, including terrorism, insurgency, banditry, and other criminal threats. General Musa made the remarks while opening the 10th Chief of Army Staff Annual Conference 2025 in Lagos. He described the conference as a platform for reviewing Nigerian Army's operational posture, readiness, and professionalism in line with national security priorities. Senator representing Borno South, Ali Undeme, has faulted the composition of President Bola Tinubu's ambassadorial nominees, describing the list as lopsided and in breach of the federal character principle. The senator, who expressed his reservation at a press conference in Abuja, stated that the Senate would formally convey its observations to the president. The Borno federal lawmaker also explained why he ultimately joined his colleagues on the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs to screen the nominees, despite earlier urging President Tinubu to withdraw the lists over concerns of imbalance. No fewer than 4 suspected bandits were killed following an attack on the Ayetoro Kiri community in Kaba Bunu local government area of Kogi State during a fierce gun battle on Sunday evening. The state government confirmed in a statement that about 13 residents were abducted in the attack. The Commissioner for Information and Communications, Kingsley Fanwo, during a press conference, said the attack occurred in Ayetoro Kiri, a rural community. And now to some politics. The People's Democratic Party has criticized the Supreme Court's judgment affirming the 6-month state of emergency imposed on Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu on March 18, 2025, warning that the decision sets a dangerous precedent for Nigeria's democracy. The opposition party expressed concern that the Apex Court's ruling, which upheld the suspension of a democratically elected governor and state lawmakers, could weaken the country's federal structure as well as open the door to authoritarian governance. The Supreme Court delivered the judgments in a suit filed in April by PDP governors challenging the constitutionality of President Tinubu's decision to suspend Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly following a prolonged political crisis in the state. And still talking politics, the internal crisis rocking the Labour Party has taken a new turn as the deputy national youth leader of the party, Dr. Barry Johnson, has accused the party's 2023 presidential candidates, Peter Obi and Abia State Governor Alex Otti, of allegedly sponsoring actions capable of deepening divisions within the party. Dr. Johnson made the allegation while appearing on our flagship program, Big Talk. Political correspondent Uban Usoro now reports.
The Labour Party continues to grapple with internal disagreements as fresh allegations emerge from within the leadership amid the ongoing tussle involving Senator Nanadi Usman and the party's national chairman, Julius Abure. Appearing on Big Talk, the Deputy National Youth Leader, Dr. Barry Johnson, alleged that the party's former presidential candidate, Peter Obi, alongside Abia State Governor Alex Otti, are backing activities that will further deepen divisions within the party. According to him, the alleged interference has created leadership confusion and slowed the party's efforts at consolidation ahead of future elections.
Just like how Nigerians came up to support Peter Obi without checking who he was.
Oh, you didn't check who Peter Obi was?
What time did we have to check who Peter Obi is? Now we know who he is.
So who is Peter Obi?
I will not be able to tell you who he is now until all the political parties present their
Dr. Johnson further stated that despite the ongoing crisis, the Labour Party remains attractive to political actors, noting that several prominent politicians are already defecting to the party in anticipation of securing tickets for upcoming elections. He maintained that the party's youth leadership remains committed to restoring unity, strengthening internal democracy, and repositioning the party for future electoral success.
If Aburi and the secretary Umar Farouk are weaklings, by now they could have been thrown out of the Labour Party. Do you know what it means to fight dirty politics with a serving governor? Do you know who a governor is in Nigeria? He has access to billions that can be thrown to the air to get you dealt with. But we dealt with them even in the courts. And we have shown them that building an institution is better than building an individual.
Political observers say the unfolding developments could significantly shape the party's fortune as the 2027 general elections draw closer. Ubong Usoro for Global Television News.
Thank you so very much, Usoro. You're watching the live broadcast of the Midday News with Uyi Agumofwegbe. When the rest of the news returns shortly, United States warns Nigerians against visa fraud. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories for you. On the other side of this break, please don't go away. Thank you so very much for staying with us, everyone. The second part of this news broadcast now returns with business, where the Nigerian Ports Authority says it has recorded a 1,085% surge in export-laden containers as total cargo throughput rose to 33.52 million metric tons in the third quarter of 2025. In the statement, the Nigerian Ports Authority stressed that the figure is one of its strongest quarterly performances in recent years. The statement explained that operational data released by the authority over the weekend showed that cargo handled during the period increased by 16.2%, up from 28.84 million metric tons recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2024, a reflection of a rise in trading activity across Nigeria ports. A total of 432 Nigerian companies have accessed 51.785 billion naira and $359.653 million from local content intervention funds aimed at promoting indigenous participation in the country's oil and gas sector. That's according to the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. The funding, designed to strengthen the capacity of Nigerian firms, includes the $350 million Nigerian Content Intervention Fund, $50 million Working Capital Fund, which is supported by the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, and the Women in Oil and Gas Fund. Fresh data released by the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board indicates that 3 manufacturing firms also received 7.561 billion naira, as well as 38 companies securing 22.144 billion naira and $205.666 million for asset acquisition, and 10 firms obtained 2.232 billion naira and $24.728 million to finance contracts, while 25 companies benefited from 15.98 billion naira and $115.998 million for loan refinancing. Let's take the news beyond our shores. The United States Embassy in Abuja has cautioned Nigerians on the serious consequences of visa fraud, emphasizing that falsifying information or submitting fake documents can result in permanent visa bans. In a post on X, the embassy stated that visa fraud has serious consequences. Lying or providing fake documents, it says, can lead to permanent visa bans under United States immigration law. This means that such applicants will never again have the access to enter the United States. The advisory coincided with a meeting between the United States Ambassador Richard Mills and Nigerian Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugra, where both officials discussed areas of cooperation between the two countries. Outgoing United Nations Refugees Chief Filippo Grandi says this year has been a perfect storm of successive crises for the world's forcibly displaced people, who he says were estimated to number 117.3 million in mid-2025. The UN chief stated that the measures have inflicted unnecessary pain on refugees who are being vilified while their suffering is exploited by traffickers and politicians. Grandi noted that altogether it has been what he termed a perfect storm while speaking at the opening of a biannual Global Refugee Forum Progress Review in Geneva, Switzerland. He condemned the unending atrocities committed in Sudan, Ukraine, Gaza, and Myanmar, as well as the sudden, drastic, irresponsible, and short-sighted collapse of foreign assistance, all of which he lamented have inflicted so much of unnecessary pain.
A year when the sudden, drastic, irresponsible, and short-sighted collapse of foreign assistance continues to devastate the aid sector, inflicting so much unnecessary pain in its wake.
The UN Refugees Chief also said politicians and traffickers have exploited these unfortunate developments for selfish gains, a situation he described as one that has provided economical and political advantage to self-serving entities.
A year when refugees were frequently vilified, scapegoated in so many places, with their suffering cynically used by traffickers for profit, and their situation by politicians to gain votes for the next election.
The number of people forcibly displaced worldwide has almost doubled in the last decade, but funding for international aid has slumped, not least after the return of U.S. President Donald Trump to the White House. Uyi Agbomof. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has threatened targeted sanctions on anyone obstructing Guinea-Bissau's return to civilian rule following last month's coup. The announcement came as presidents from across the region met in Nigeria for a biannual meeting whose agenda was dominated by two recent coup attempts, a successful military takeover in Guinea-Bissau and a failed coup in Benin. Over to Zarau Nasiru for more.
ECOWAS Commission President Umaru Aliyu Toure told reporters at the end of the summit held in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, that authorities shall enforce targeted sanctions on individuals or group of persons that obstruct the transition process. Toure also said that the ECOWAS peacekeeping force deployed in Guinea-Bissau, a small coup-prone West African country, since 2022, was authorized to provide protection to all political leaders and national institutions.
Sanctions are on the table, and it will be applied on any institution or any person found to be contributing found to be working against efforts to return the country to constitutional order.
The twin disruptions of civilian rule last month in Guinea-Bissau and a week ago in Benin have rattled the ECOWAS, which condemned both at the summit. The failed insurrection in Benin saw Nigeria deploy fighter jets and troops alongside soldiers from the Ivory Coast to shore up the civilian government. ECOWAS has said more soldiers are on their way from Ghana and Sierra Leone. Zahra Nasr, reporting for Global TV News.
Now, time to bring you some excitement from the world of sports. The Super Eagles camp in Cairo has grown to 22 players with the arrival of Blackburn Rovers defender Ryan Alebiosu ahead of Nigeria's Africa Cup of Nations international friendly match against Egypt. The news agency of Nigeria reports that Atalanta winger Ademola Lookman and defenders Semi Ajayi and Bright Usai Samuel also had reported to camp earlier on Monday at the Renaissance Hotel, joining a steadily increasing squad. Goalkeeper Amas Obasogie, defender Igo Ogbu, and midfielder Tochukwu Nnamdi were also among the latest arrivals to bolster the team. Well, it can only get stronger with the Super Eagles. And that's our news for you this midday. Thank you so very much for watching. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365, and Star Times, channel 276. As always, we encourage you to engage with us across all social media platforms using our Global TV NG as well as other handles as you now see on your screen. I am Uyi Agumofwegbe. Thank you so very much for watching. Our broadcast of programs here on Global Television continues.